we start the second season 3 months after the finale, so it's still fresh, but it's not as fresh as it was before. And we're kind of just learning how, especially the three characters, Carson, Elijah, and Hayley, are kind of dealing with that grief, I mean, especially I think Carson and Hayley having to kind of give away their daughter. I mean, I can't imagine anything more traumatic or heartbreaking than that. And it's just, how the three of them are all dealing with that. And also dealing with the grief of that kind of hope is literally her name. But I think they all were really excited about, they've all lived these chaotic, crazy, unusual lives. And I think they were all excited to have a bit of normality and to have this kind of common thread of just looking after a child, which is the most, natural human thing anyone could do. And that was kind of ripped away from all of them, and it was their one last chance of living kind of somewhat normal lives. And now they're kind of back where they started, if not worse, because now they're kind of, not only do they all want to kind of seek vengeance on whoever kind of did this to to Baby Hope, but their town and their home is kind of under siege, and they need to protect that as well. And there's also, they want to create a home for the baby. They don't want to all feel like this is the be-all, and the child didn't die. They just want to create an environment that is safe enough to one day in the future have that kind of normal life that they've all craved. Yeah.
So we have to ask about Hayley and Elijah now that the ruins of everything have kind of fallen. What level are they on?
It's kind of a hard one. The problem is that Hayley met Elijah in a very specific time in her life. When she just found out she was pregnant, and she was in this kind of awkward, weird transition period of kind of between young girl and kind of finding out exactly who she is. And I think now that the baby's gone, she's terrified that that part of her that he was in love with isn't there anymore. So she's questioning herself and where she belongs and exactly who she is. And I also just don't think romance is her priority right now. And I think she's kind of closed herself off a little bit to feeling anything. She's kind of become quite cold and hard, and she's almost looking to Klaus a little bit, which probably isn't the best thing to do when you're looking for, therapy advice. But, she's looking at the way he deals with things, and it's kind of a sad, hard way, but she finds that, that kind of closing off kind of way of dealing with the grief of the child is the way that she's able to handle what happens.
What kind of position she will have in the pack, or in her pack?
What position?
She will, because the baby now they think.
Because she was the. I think it was not just the baby. I think it's the fact that Hayley or Andrea comes from this line of royalty. I think that's the main thing, in that most of those kind of family members have either left or they've been killed. And the fact that she's kind of the remaining member of that particular family, still, they have this kind of level of respect for her, because everyone else, there's no one else there to look for. But so I think they still kind of are treating her with respect, but she's going to have to fight for they treat her with I think they're just cautious because they want to treat her with respect because of her family, but she's also now half of an enemy because she's half vampire, and they, it's their sworn enemy. So, even though it's not her fault that now she's a hybrid, they're kind of treating her like, well, now you're partly our enemy, and we don't know if we can trust you. And so she's got to kind of try to, get them to kind of take her side again, and it's going to take a little bit, and she needs to kind of get her strength back to kind of prove to them that she can be their leader, and that's something that we kind of explore in the first few episodes.
What are you most excited about Hayley's upcoming storyline?
I think that particular one is going to be really interesting to see, just because the werewolves did hold her in such high regard, especially the second half of the season, and to kind of see them, just not trusting her, and it's really hard for someone that's never had a family, went through her whole life not knowing her parents, not knowing her family, to find a family, and then for them to then turn on her. You know, it's kind of an emotional roller coaster, and that's something that she's dealing with, and that's something we've been really kind of exploring, and it's been really interesting, and that's what I'm looking forward to most.
It makes sense that Hayley is looking to Klaus, because Klaus seemingly is also has the same situation where his family is like, he felt the family was disowning him basically.
Exactly, and they're both, they both were in it together. They both lost a child, and they're both kind of bonding over that. And as I said, there's no romance. It's just two people that have lost something, and they're mourning that together, and they're kind of holding each other's hands through it, and just going, day by day we can both get through it. But unfortunately, because they're both like supernatural, immortal hybrids, it's a little bit more aggressive than just two people mourning. They're kind of on a bit of a revenge mission together.
Are you excited to become a hybrid, or?
I always wanted to be a vampire on the show, so now I kind of get the best of both worlds. And it's just kind of fun to be one of the very few hybrid characters, because everyone else is either a vampire. I feel kind of special.
Why do you want to be a vampire?
I don't know. Vampires are always a little bit more mysterious. I love being a werewolf, but a werewolf's a bit more like wild and rugged. There's something kind of threatening about a vampire, and I thought that was always kind of cool. That's why I wanted to be.
I was curious. I know, coming from Secret Circle to the originals, you always kind of seem to play. I don't like to use the word sassy. I think that's too simple. But you always play there's a lot of strength behind you. You have vulnerability, but you always have a lot of strength. Is that something you gravitate towards as an actor, like normally when you audition, or is that just with the role that you were given?
It's kind of maybe a bit of both. I mean, especially in these two instances, definitely the role that I was given. But especially on these shows, what's really awesome about, especially how Julie writes these shows, is there's so many changes, and these characters go through so many physical and emotional changes that we do kind of get to play around with the character, and they get to go through things and they get to change a little bit. But I also I like playing that kind of character. I find it fine. I'm kind of a little bit more awkward in real life, so to play someone that's quite assertive and quite strong is, it's fun. It's acting, you get to do something different to what you're like in real life, so that's kind of why I enjoy it.
How shocked when you saw the season 1 finale script? How shocked? Wait, did you know it was coming, or how shocked?
I did. We all knew that there was. I actually when we were doing it, it was like, it's going to be episode 13 that you give birth. It's going to be 14, 15. It's going to be the finale. So for every episode, I kind of read the script expecting that the baby was going to be born. So we obviously knew it was coming, but I didn't realize it was going to be so kind of graphic and so emotional and so kind of scary. When I saw that Hayley gets her throat slit, I was like, Julie, wait, what's happening? But then I get resurrected, so it's all good.